Howdy, kiddos. Happy Friday. You have a test either on Tuesday for my A-Day students or Wednesday for my B-Day students. So you did the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 problems because I didn't have 8. I'm not doing the bonus, but hopefully you're able to see this. If not, we'll go from there. Here's your graph of what you're seeing. That way it's a little bit closer so you can see that. Okay, so as I talk about this, everything is labeled distance in miles, time in hours, running a race. So we're running. In the first hour, I run about 8 miles, and that's what I'd say. So in hour 1, I ran at a pace of 8 miles per 1 hour. In the second hour, from hour 1 to 2, I ran at 2 miles. Actually, let's go 4 miles in 1 hour. And then I didn't move. I think I collapsed. Oh, but I caught my breath. And then I ran from about 12 miles to 25 in the next hour. So I ran 13 miles in an hour. And then last but not least, I ran 5 miles in an hour. So there's a lot of different ways that you can say this. I ran 8 miles in 1 hour. In the next hour, I ran 4. In the next hour, I rested. Following hour, I ran 13. The last hour, I ran 5. However you need to talk about this, that's how we're interpreting the graph. Okay. Now we get to some of the tougher ones. Let me put this off to the side. So no matter what type of problem we're doing, in this case, it is x cubed minus x, all getting subtracted 2x times 3x squared minus 2x plus 4. Okay, we cannot add or subtract until we finish multiplying. Can you see that? Yes, okay. So until we multiply, we cannot add or subtract. So I am distributing this to everything, which means all of this comes down because I'm done multiplying after this. It becomes a subtraction problem. Negative 2x times 3x squared. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. The thing that you should have watched and remembered is that every exponent, or every variable has an exponent. Actually, really, everything has an exponent. When I'm multiplying like bases, the x's, we keep the base, we add the exponents. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. X times x, keep the x, add the exponents. Negative 2x times 4 is negative 8x. So now we're combining like terms. X to the third minus 6x to the third. That gives me negative 5x to the third. Next, in standard form, is positive 4x squared. I have this x and these x's, which leaves me with negative 9x. And I am now done. Mr. H, why can't I combine those? Well, when we add and subtract, we can only add and subtract terms that have the same base and exponent. None of these have the same base and exponent. So I'm left over with negative 5x to the third plus 4x squared minus 9x. So, moving on. Okay, here we just have a multiplication problem. X minus 7 multiplied by x minus 9. How do I know it's just a multiplication problem? Because there's nothing in between the parentheses. It's just a parenthesis up against a parenthesis. I have told you that I would prefer you to split this into two problems. X multiplied by x minus 9, because we're distributing all of this to all of this. That's what's happening. Then negative 7 times x minus 9. Well, Mr. H, now it's a subtraction problem. Yes, it is. Remember, we can't add or subtract until we multiply, so let's multiply. Remember, these have 1, so that's x. 1 plus 1 is 2, or x squared, minus 9x, negative 7x, plus 63. Combine like terms, there's nothing for the x squared. Negative 9 minus 7 is negative 16x's, plus 63. A nice, simple multiplication problem. Moving on. Oh, x squared minus 7 times x minus 9. Looks very, very similar. I mean, it is almost exactly the same. Split it. X squared multiplied by x minus 9, negative 7 times x minus 9. We cannot add or subtract until we're done multiplying. So notice how I'm going to add the 1 there, because that x or that variable has an exponent. So 2 plus 1, I keep the base, I add the exponent. Negative 9x squared, negative 7x, positive 63. Some of you are going to try to combine things. You cannot. These are the same bases. They have different exponents. When we add or subtract, we cannot combine terms that don't have the same base and exponents. So that takes care of 4 problems, or 3 problems right there. No, 4 problems, I was right. Losing my mind. It's Friday, been a long week. Okay, so now we've got x multiplied by x minus 7 multiplied by x minus 9. In a question like this, I want you to get used to multiplying the first 2. So we're going to find the product. X times x, well, those have exponents. That's x squared. X times negative 7 is negative 7x. Now my question is, am I done multiplying? Well, up against parentheses, so no. I cannot add or subtract, which is why I keep it in the parentheses. I'm done with these now. I bring down my x minus 9. And I split it. X squared times x minus 9. Negative 7x times x minus 9. Distribute. Well, that's going to have a 1, so that's x to the third. Negative 9x squared. 1, negative 7x squared. Positive 63x. Only 1x cubed. Negative 16x squared. I can do that because they have the same base and exponent. Plus 63x. Okay, even explaining these shouldn't take very long. Truly and honestly, these should not take very long. Okay. Oh man, I can barely see that one. So I've got 4x to the 7th minus 7x to the third minus 2x minus x multiplied by 3x to the 6th minus 4x to the 2nd plus 8. We cannot add or subtract until we multiply. So I need to distribute my negative x to everything. So all of this just drops down because this is going to be my last step of multiplying. That's a 1, so that's negative 3x to the 7th. Mr. H, why are you keeping it as a negative 3? Because this has a coefficient of 1. So negative 1 times 3 is the negative 3. X times the x to the 6th is x to the 7th. Plus 4x to the third minus 8x. Okay, let's combine. X to the 7th, x to the 7th. I can combine those. 4 minus 3 is 1, x to the 7th. I personally will not put that coefficient. If you have 1x to the 7th, that's fine, but I just won't do it. Negative 7x to the third plus 4x to the third is negative 3x to the third. Last but not least, negative 2x minus 8x is negative 10x. You cannot add or subtract until you multiply. You cannot add or subtract and combine those terms unless they have the same variable and exponent. I'm going to keep drilling that in. 2 more. (5x to the 4th minus 3x to the 7th, oh no, minus 3x plus 7 minus 2x to the third plus 2x squared minus 8. A couple different ways that I can do this. I can change it to a vertical and subtract like that, or we can distribute, which is what most of you are going to do. So that's my only multiplication, so I bring everything down and I lose the parentheses. That negative really just makes everything the opposite. So I'm here. I have no 5x to the 4th, or x to the 4th, so I bring it down. I do have a negative 2x to the 3rd, so I bring it down. Remember, standard form, 4, 3, I'm looking for a 2. There it is, negative 2x squared. Just 1x here, so minus 3x. 7 and 8 is positive 15, That's as much as I can do with the problem. That's it. Last but not least. Last but certainly not least, I've got x. Actually, let me bring this up a little bit. A product of x minus 1 multiplied by x to the 8th plus x to the 7th plus x to the 6th plus x to the 5th plus x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd plus x to the 2nd plus x to the 1st plus 1. Maybe it doesn't even say the first. I can look at this and I know that it's going to be x to the 9th minus 1. I know the answer immediately, and you're going to start picking up on this too. X multiplied by x to the 8th plus x to the 7th plus x to the 6th plus x to the 5th plus x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd plus x to the 2nd plus x plus 1 minus 1 times x to the 8th plus x to the 7th plus x to the 6th plus x to the 5th plus x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd plus x to the 2nd plus x plus 1. Shoo! Is that a big problem? Yes, it is. This is really x to the first power. So when I multiply x to the 9th plus x to the 8th, because I'm adding the exponents, plus x to the 7th plus x to the 6th plus x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd plus x to the, wait, hold on. 6, hold on, I did something wrong. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, plus x. Shoo, that's a lot. Now we've got a -1 times all of this. If I'm taking a -1 times all of it, it's changing it to the opposite. -8 to the x, -8 to the x. Negative x to the 8th, negative x to the 7th, negative x to the 6th, negative x to the 5th, negative x to the 4th, negative x to the 3rd, negative x to the 2nd, negative x, -1. Shoo. Okay. Are there any x to the 9ths? No, there's not. So it comes down. Done with it. Positive x to the 8th, negative x to the 8th. That's the additive inverse, it's 0. Positive x to the 7th, negative x to the 7th. That's 0. And positive x to the 6th, negative. That's 0. 0. 0. 0. 0. 0. -1. You're now ready for your test. So a couple things. Remember, if you're adding and subtracting no matter what, you have to look to see if you need to multiply first. You cannot multiply until, or you cannot add or subtract until you multiply. When you multiply like bases, the x's, x to the 1st times x to the 8th becomes x to the 9th because you keep the base, you add the exponents. When we add or subtract, we cannot add or subtract things that don't have the same base and exponents. Good luck on your test. I'll be interested to see how we do.